People don't really hand over money for your credentials. What they pay for is the way they feel when they are in your presence. At first, this idea might sound shocking, maybe even exaggerated, but it's a truth no one usually talks about. Something vital is missing in our education system. No one shows us how to step into our own inner authority. Instead, we're conditioned to wait for approval, to chase qualifications, to collect degrees and certificates, believing they'll give us legitimacy. But what if I told you that some of the most life-changing voices in history had none of that? They didn't wait for anyone to approve them. They themselves became the approval. They didn't speak from a manual or syllabus. They spoke from their essence. People paid attention to them, not because they were certified, but because they were authentic. Carl Jung, one of psychology's greatest thinkers, spoke of archetypes, ancient patterns that exist within every human being. You don't earn these. You embody them. And once you embody them, everything begins to shift. That's why in this video, we'll uncover how to step into that power, how to get people to value your truth even without formal schooling or titles behind your name. Stay tuned until the end, because I'll share how your own story becomes your strongest credibility, more valuable than any official document. Not only that, but I'll also reveal the single unconscious belief that secretly blocks people from charging for their gifts and how you can shift it right now. Here's where we begin with a hard truth. People are no longer paying for information. There's already too much of it available everywhere. What people now pay for is transformation. They want to feel understood, supported, and truly seen. They want an internal shift, something that moves them inside. And transformation does not come from credentials. It comes from clarity, from being genuine, from emotional connection. That's what opens people's wallets. Not a piece of paper, but the feeling you awaken in them. You might be a 25-year-old who has battled anxiety and learned to regulate yourself, and a 45-year-old executive might be willing to pay you thousands to learn the same. Why? Because transformation isn't about age, resume, or social status. It's about truth and lived experience. Before I continue, don't forget to subscribe to my channel SYC Soul. Like this video, hit the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming content, and share it with someone who needs this message. And yet, so many people hold back their truth. They convince themselves they're not ready, or they quietly ask, "Who am I to charge for this?" Carl Jung would have called that voice the wounded ego, the shadow speaking. And here's the thing, if you don't work through that wound, if you don't learn to believe in your own worth, then no pricing strategy, no formula, no business coach will ever save you. Because before people even listen to your words, they feel your energy. And that energy speaks louder than anything else. People sense if you're embarrassed about charging. They can tell if you're secretly waiting for permission, if you're looking around for someone to officially crown you as legit. But the unconscious always sees through what the ego tries to cover up. Your inner hesitation leaks out in ways you don't even realize. When you fully embody your message, when your voice carries the vibration of truth, something powerful happens. It creates a resonance that cannot be denied. That resonance is what people trust. That is what they pay for. So maybe you're asking right now, all right, but how do I actually get people to pay me? How do I step into that authority without faking it? Good. If you're asking that, it means something deep inside you is already shifting. Because what we're about to explore is the mindset shift that transforms your personal story into your greatest magnet, and how to identify your own archetype so you stop waiting for outside validation. Think about this for a moment, not out loud, just inside yourself. Have you ever sat across from someone who didn't have the fanciest title, but something about their presence made you lean in closer? Maybe it was their story, their honesty, or the rawness of their experience. Somehow, it went straight into your chest and stayed with you. That is the power of embodied truth. And it's exactly what people are really willing to pay for. Let's clear away a common misconception. Your story is not a side detail. It is your certification. Every struggle, heartbreak, burnout, rock bottom, breakthrough, late-night journal entry, and silent healing, it all matters. Carl Jung called this the individuation process, the journey of becoming who you truly are beneath every mask you've ever worn. When you walk that path with awareness, your life itself becomes medicine for others. When you own your story, you stop competing in the endless race of who has the best qualifications. Instead, you step into something much more powerful: authenticity. People can get information anywhere. They don't need you for that. But what they can't get anywhere else is your lived experience, the way you uniquely see the world, and the transformation you've walked through yourself. That is what creates connection. That is what builds trust. Carl Jung often spoke of the collective unconscious, a deep layer within humanity where universal patterns live. Your story connects to these archetypes. That's why when you tell your truth without editing it to please or impress, people feel it in their bones. It resonates with something ancient in them, something they can't explain logically, but know is real. Now, many people hold back because they think, my story isn't special enough. But that is another illusion of the ego. The truth is, every single human experience contains medicine. The exact details of your path are not what matter most. It's the courage to share them without shame. That courage is what people recognize as leadership. Let me be clear here. Authenticity is not about oversharing or dramatizing. It's about alignment. When your inner world and your outer expression match, people sense it instantly. That alignment is magnetic. It makes you trustworthy without you having to prove anything. But here's the paradox. If you deny your own story, you deny your own authority. When you hide parts of yourself because you think they make you less, you actually weaken the very power that could attract people to you. Jung taught that wholeness doesn't come from rejecting the shadow, but from integrating it. The wounds you carry are not disqualifications. They are part of your gift. And this is the secret most people never realize. The story you are ashamed of is often the exact story that can set someone else free. The transformation you live through is the bridge others are searching for. This is why people don't just buy services. They invest in the feeling that someone understands them, that someone has walked the road they are on and can guide them across. If you can grasp this truth, you'll see that your lived experience is more powerful than any external badge. It's not just about telling your story. It's about embodying it so fully that others feel safe enough to step into theirs. The reality is, most of us have been trained to believe we must always add more and more knowledge, more courses, more external validation before we can finally step forward. But in truth, you already carry what's needed. The wisdom isn't out there somewhere. It lives inside of you, shaped by everything you've gone through. The moment you realize this, the way you show up in the world completely changes. Carl Jung explained that the psyche constantly seeks wholeness. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every obstacle is part of a larger process of becoming. When you share your journey, you aren't just telling a story, you are offering proof that transformation is possible. And that proof is often more powerful than any academic qualification. Think about the teachers or mentors who've impacted you the most. Chances are, it wasn't their resume that made you listen. It was their presence, their honesty, their willingness to reveal the path they had personally walked. That is what opened you to trust them. And that same principle applies to you. But here's the catch. When you hesitate, when you shrink back, when you tell yourself, I'm not enough, people feel that too. Your hesitation seeps into your words, your tone, even your body language. And no matter how polished your strategy is, if your energy doesn't align with conviction, it will never land the way you hope. This is why embodying your story matters so deeply. It allows people to sense your alignment, to feel that you truly live what you speak. And alignment is what gives your message its power. Without it, your words are empty. With it, even the simplest sentence can touch someone's soul. Now, I want to pause here and invite you into this conversation. If what I've shared so far resonates with you, if you feel a connection to these truths, let me know in the comments below where in the world you are watching this video from. I'd love to see how far this message is reaching. And if you appreciate this work, don't hesitate to say so. It means a lot and keeps me inspired to continue sharing. All right, let's keep going. Because the deeper we move into this, the clearer it becomes. The very wounds you once tried to hide are often the exact keys to your authority. Jung reminded us that the shadow holds treasure. When you bring light to those hidden parts, not only do you find healing, you unlock the medicine that others desperately need. When you step into your own authority, you stop waiting for the world to validate you. You no longer need the constant reassurance that you are qualified enough. Instead, you begin to recognize that what makes you valuable is not an external stamp of approval, but the inner work you've done, the battles you've fought, and the wisdom you've gained through living. That's what truly sets you apart. Carl Jung pointed out that the human journey is never just about achievement. It's about individuation, the process of becoming whole. Every part of your life story, even the struggles you wanted to forget, plays a role in shaping who you are meant to be. When you integrate those pieces, you don't just heal yourself, you give others permission to heal as well. And that is exactly why people are drawn to you, why they choose to listen, and ultimately, why they are willing to invest. Think about it, anyone can memorize facts, copy strategies, or recite motivational lines. But none of that holds power if it isn't lived. What makes your voice stand out is not that you've read the right books or collected the right credentials, but that you've embodied what you're teaching. You have walked the path, stumbled, learned, and risen again. That lived experience radiates authenticity, and authenticity is something you cannot fake. And yet, most people keep holding back, trapped by the thought, what if I'm not good enough? What if no one listens? But that thought is the very barrier keeping them small. The moment you stop negotiating with that inner critic and begin showing up as your true self, something shifts. People feel it. They lean in. They sense that what you're offering is not theory but truth. And that truth is priceless. Here's a reminder before we continue deeper. If you're finding value in this, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to my channel SYC Soul. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upcoming video. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear these words. Together, we can reach more people who are ready for this transformation. Now, back to the message. The most powerful leaders are not the ones who pretend to be flawless. They are the ones who allow their humanity to be seen. They don't hide their scars. They show how those scars became part of their strength. Jung called this the integration of the shadow, and without that integration, no one can reach true authority. When you accept the parts of yourself you once rejected, something remarkable happens. The fear of being found out begins to dissolve because there is nothing left to hide. And in that openness, your presence gains strength. People trust you more when you no longer wear a mask, when you let your words carry the weight of real experience rather than performance. Carl Jung observed that wholeness does not come from pretending to be perfect. Wholeness is born from embracing both light and shadow. The leaders who impact us most deeply are not those who claim they have everything figured out, but those who are willing to admit their flaws and still stand in their truth. That kind of honesty strikes a chord in others because it gives them permission to be human too. The world doesn't need more polished performances. It needs voices that carry sincerity. It needs people who are willing to show up as they are, and in doing so, create a space for others to do the same. That is the true power of authenticity. And when you embody it, you stop competing for attention. You naturally attract the people who are meant to work with you, because they can feel the alignment in your words and actions. So ask yourself honestly, are you hiding behind qualifications, waiting until you feel ready enough? Or are you willing to step forward now, with the story you already hold, with the truth you've already lived? Because the moment you choose the second path, doors open. People sense the difference between someone reciting information and someone who has lived it. And they lean toward the one who has lived it every single time. This is where transformation becomes undeniable. You shift from trying to convince people of your value to simply embodying it. No strategies, no gimmicks, just presence. That presence is the magnet. That presence is the credibility. And here's the paradox that Jung's work makes so clear. The very pieces of your story that you thought disqualified you are often the exact keys to your authority. They are not weaknesses. They are the symbols of your humanity. And humanity is what people long to connect with most. The truth is, people are not searching for another flawless expert. They are searching for someone real, someone who understands their pain, someone who has walked through the fire and come out with wisdom to share. And that wisdom does not come from a textbook. It comes from lived experience, from falling, rising, and continuing forward. That is what makes your story so powerful. Carl Jung's teachings reveal that the unconscious mind connects most deeply with symbols, images, and lived experiences. This is why a personal story can reach further than a lecture full of theory. When you speak from the truth of what you've lived, it carries an emotional weight that facts alone cannot hold. People don't just hear it, they feel it. And feeling is what moves them. Now, it's important to understand this. People are already drowning in information. They can search online and find endless answers for free. But information doesn't change lives. Transformation does. What creates transformation is resonance. The moment someone realizes, this person understands me, they've been where I am, and they know the way through. That realization is what makes people willing to invest. You may believe your story isn't traumatic enough, but that is another illusion. Every story holds resonance. Whether it's about overcoming burnout, healing from loss, finding purpose, or learning to manage anxiety, your truth will touch the hearts of those who need it most. The power is not in how extraordinary the story sounds, but in how sincerely it is told. And this is why authenticity can never be faked. People feel when words come from the mind alone, and they feel when words come from the heart. The latter carries a vibration that naturally draws others in. It creates safety. It allows people to open up and trust you. The question you must ask yourself is simple. Are you willing to own your story fully? Are you ready to embody it so completely that your presence becomes an invitation for others to step into their own healing? Because when you do, something shifts not only in them, but in you as well. You move from doubt into certainty, from seeking approval into living your truth. And that is what makes people not only listen, but also choose to walk beside you. When you stop hiding and begin to live your truth openly, you step into a kind of authority that no external title can provide. This authority is not forced, and it doesn't require you to prove yourself. It is felt. People recognize it instantly, even if they can't explain why. It's the quiet confidence that comes from living in alignment, from embodying the lessons you've learned. Carl Jung described this as individuation, the process of integrating all parts of yourself into a unified whole. And when you embody this wholeness, others feel it. They are drawn to you, not because you claim to have answers, but because you are living proof that transformation is possible. Your presence becomes the evidence. This is why your story matters. Every part of it, your struggles, your breakthroughs, your mistakes, your recoveries, forms the foundation of your authority. People do not invest in you because you are perfect. They invest because you are real, because they see themselves in your journey. And that recognition gives them hope that they too can change. But here's the mistake so many make. They try to copy others, to follow a formula, to present themselves in a way they think will look more impressive. Yet, In trying to become someone else, they dilute their own power. The truth is, what makes you valuable is not your ability to imitate, but your willingness to stand as yourself. Your uniqueness is not something to hide, it is the very thing that people are searching for. Think about it. The leaders, teachers, and guides who have left the deepest impression on humanity were not the ones who fit the mold. They were the ones who broke it. They weren't trying to be perfect. They were trying to be true. And that truth became their authority. So, what does this mean for you? It means that your next step is not to collect another certificate or wait for someone to declare you ready. Your next step is to begin showing up as who you are fully, unapologetically, consistently. And when you do, you'll discover that the authority you are chasing was inside you all along. And the more you live this truth, the more magnetic you become. People will feel it. They'll trust it. They'll want to follow it. Now let us go even deeper into something rarely spoken about in business, but well understood in the realm of the soul. The people who truly transform lives, who leave lasting impact, are not always the most formally educated. They're the ones who have integrated their truth. Carl Jung called them living archetypes. These are individuals who don't just play roles. They embody energy. They show up as the healer, the sage, the rebel, the guide, the alchemist, not because they studied a script, but because life itself shaped them into it. Their clarity, their presence, and their energy speak louder than any polished resume or sales pitch. This is the secret most overlooked. People do unconsciously decide to pay for that kind of presence, but their unconscious does. The unconscious mind, yours, mine, and your future clients, responds to resonance, not logic. It reacts to frequency, to energy, to archetypes. That's why someone might say, "I don't even know why, but I felt I had to work with you." That's not coincidence, that's resonance. And that resonance is what money naturally follows. So ask yourself, what archetype are you holding back from? Has life trained you to be a healer, but you've been too afraid to claim it because you don't have a medical degree? Do you carry a rebellious spirit that questions authority, yet you tone it down to appear respectable? Have people always sought you out for clarity, reflection, or peace, but you keep telling yourself, "Who am I to charge for this?" Jung would call this hesitation the unintegrated self, the part of you that knows its power but hasn't learned to trust it. And here's the breakthrough. When you finally own your archetype without apology, something shifts dramatically. You no longer need to convince people. You no longer need to perform. You stop chasing validation and instead embody it. That's when you become magnetic. Because what the world is aching for is not more experts, but more realness. People are starving to feel seen, and the most powerful thing you can offer them is your whole unedited self. Every archetype has value. Every archetype has a path to prosperity. But that path only opens when you stop hiding from who you already are. Every single archetype carries its own form of power and its own way of creating value. Money doesn't only follow strategists, entrepreneurs, or polished business minds. It flows where real value is embodied, and each archetype delivers value in its unique way. So if you've ever told yourself, "I'm just creative. I'm spiritual, not business-minded. I like to support others, but I'm not really a leader," it's time to stop shrinking into that story. You are not just anything. You are carrying an archetype designed for impact, and yes, also for prosperity. Let's break it down. The healer archetype doesn't need a therapist's license. Their presence alone is medicine. They earn by holding safe, transformative spaces, whether through coaching, energy work, grief guidance, or breath practices. People pay for the safety and emotional restoration healers bring. The rebel archetype spots what's broken before anyone else does. They create what doesn't yet exist. Rebels give rise to movements, disruptive products, bold podcasts, or radical new approaches. They earn because people trust their courage to say, "Enough and build what others only dream of. The wise guide carries piercing clarity. This archetype simplifies complexity, turns chaos into structure, and offers frameworks that help people understand themselves. Guides earn through teaching, mentoring, writing, or creating communities around their insights. The lover or empath archetype leads with compassion. They thrive in spaces of deep care relationships, parenting, inner healing. People gladly invest, feel seen, supported, and safe in their presence. The creator archetype turns soul into expression. They don't just make art, they transmit meaning. Whether through music, design, storytelling, or branding, creators bring beauty and vitality that move others deeply. And beauty always carries value. The alchemist bridges seen and unseen worlds. From spiritual mentors to intuitive coaches and ceremonial leaders, they transform energy into clarity and connection. Spiritual work has value because transformation, whether visible or invisible, changes lives. The truth is simple. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy of payment. You need to become more of who you already are. When you claim your archetype unapologetically, your audience recognizes what they've been searching for, not another expert, but a living mirror. And here's the bigger picture. This isn't only about you being paid. This is how we heal society. Jung once said, "The most dangerous thing is the unlived life." When you embody your truth fully, you give others permission to step into theirs. That ripple shifts communities and raises collective consciousness. So as we close, remember, your worth isn't negotiable. It's encoded in your being. You're allowed to be supported. You're allowed to be paid. And you're allowed to be fully seen. If this message touched you, subscribe now to SYC Soul, hit the notification bell so you never miss an upcoming video, and share this with someone still waiting for permission to shine. The world is waiting for you to live your truth.